So if you guys follow me over on TikTok, you might know, based on a couple of posts that I've made, that I am in a new relationship. It has been a fucking hot minute since I have had one. I have not had one in the state that I am currently in. So it has been really fun because I'm in this really interesting state where I can both experience the relationship and witness the unfolding of the relationship at the same time. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today. I'm not going to like gush about the relationship and how awesome it is as much as I want to. I want to talk about unfolding, the concept of unfolding, because I don't think that most people realize that absolutely nothing in this lifetime is fucking random. Like every single thing that happens is interconnected in a way that we don't always comprehend, especially in the moment. When you're in the moment of difficult things, it's really hard to see the purpose and the point and why you're experiencing it. But sometimes, like after the experience ends and you step out and you zoom out, you can really realize that like things are not random at all. Every single choice that you made along the path was directional in some way. It was leading you to the next and to the next and to the next. And that is kind of my experience of this relationship right now. It didn't feel like something that I just went out and found. It felt more like something that slowly revealed itself over time. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Not the relationship itself, but the unfolding. So let me set this up. For most of my life, the frameworks that I was given for relationships always felt really off to me. And I'm talking about the typical ones that you see online, like the typical relationship advice, things like learning how to meet each other's needs and love languages and compromise and all of these things that we are taught to create healthy relationships, right? All of these models that sort of explain how love is supposed to work. And I'm not saying that any of those frameworks are wrong, but whenever I tried to live inside of those frameworks, inside of that model, it was like something in my body always felt braced. It was like, my body didn't like it. My body rejected it. It felt like there was this unspoken exchange happening. Like if you do this, I'll do that. If you meet my needs, I'll meet your needs. And even though like none of that was ever said out loud, my nervous system always felt it as transactional. So at some point, I started to have this quiet little knowing inside of my body that there had to be another way to experience love, right? Like at the time I didn't know what it was, but from my current perspective, I identify all of those things as performance, as trying to earn love, to perform for love. And I just started to feel that if love requires constant proof, then it doesn't actually feel like love. Like love is supposed to be acceptance, complete, utter acceptance of the other person. And so if I am required to perform in order for you to feel love or me to feel love, it just doesn't feel, it just never settled right in my body. And my body always resisted it. So over the last 2 years, I'm in this space and I'm talking about conscious relationships and what I think they look like and what they might feel like, even though I had never actually experienced one. I knew how it was supposed to feel in the body. I knew the belief systems that needed to be in place in order to have that experience. So it was kind of like my body understood what it felt like before I had any proof in the physical, because I had never experienced one. So over the last 3 years, I have been online and I've been sharing, my journey and my stories and my insights and, all of the things. And of course, being an online social presence, you get a lot of people sliding into your DMs. And I ended up developing two really important friendships through my online platform. And both of them were people that, found my content, resonated with my content. Both of them lived in other countries. Both of them, we connected in very similar ways, like obviously talking about healing and spirituality and things like that. The first friendship, we have been friends at this point for maybe 18 months now. Immediately, it was all about spirituality. Like, this person saw me repost some of Bashar's teachings, and he messaged me and he was like, I see that you're really into Bashar. And so from the beginning, it was all about spirituality. For at least the first 6 months of our friendship, we spoke about nothing but spirituality. And I had just moved out. I had just ended my previous relationship. I was diving deep into my spiritual journey, and I didn't really have anybody in my life that was on a similar path. And so it was absolutely what I fucking needed, to have somebody sort of like walk that spiritual journey with me. Like, the moments when you start seeing the synchronicities and you start feeling life move around you, and all of those things, to have somebody to share it with that understands, like, it was really important and it was really impactful for me. After about 6 months or so, that's when we started to speak about more personal things and our day-to-days and things like that. But the entire connection was spiritual based, right? It was like a soul level recognition. We looked at consciousness. We looked at how reality works. Like, we just spoke in really high level concepts that I think was helpful for both of us. And this friendship was like a daily connection. Like, we would talk every day. And then there was another friendship that came into my experience. She also lived like in another country, like I said. But this one, even though we connected through healing language, it was a lot more grounded. Like, it was a lot more human. Like, we would speak about our day-to-day stuff as things came up, and move through them, and reflect back to each other and all of the things. And it was just a relationship that felt more human, more embodied. And so this particular friendship has been in my experience for the last 2 years, so a little bit longer than the other one. A few months ago, there was a couple of things that happened simultaneously. So the first thing was that I decided to start dating. So I went on Bumble, I made an account, and I initially was swiping left on everybody. Like, I'm looking at people's dating profiles and I'm looking at the things they say, and I can easily see all of the shit that they haven't unpacked. And I just found myself swiping left on so many people. And eventually I said to myself, Jackie, you need to give some of these people a chance. You need to, at the very least, engage with them. Don't judge them just off of their profile. Actually start engaging with them. So I started to do that, and I started to send messages and like people more, and send messages and matches and all of the things. I really wanted to be able to practice all of the things that I teach in my dating life, right? Practicing holding myself, practicing having the boundaries. And so I really wanted to be able to have that experience, but I wasn't able to do that if I was swiping left on everybody. So I decided to be a little bit more liberal in who I speak to. And as I'm matching with people and I'm talking with people, I'm noticing very quickly that a lot of people can't handle me. A lot of the men would just I don't know, I would just call out incongruence, or I would just mirror back the incongruence that I was perceiving, and a lot of them would disappear. And so I think I ended up maybe going on 2 dates. I was on Bumble for 3 or 4 months, and I maybe had 2 dates. That was it. And so I decided that I was gonna shift my direction, and at the same time opened my profile up to women, right? And so I'm sharing this with both of my friendships. I'm telling them both, like, this is what's happening in my life. This is what I'm going to do. And yeah, obviously they're all supportive. Right around the same time, maybe like a month or two later, I started to notice a shift that I was feeling in the first friendship, right? The spiritual friendship. So nothing really dramatic happened. Like there wasn't any kind of huge conflict, but my body kept trying to send me this message that something was slightly off. And for the longest time, I couldn't figure out what it is. Like every time I would, my ego would try to jump and analyze him, and I would be like, no, it's about me. Like there's something about me that's existing inside of here, which is why I'm having this experience. And like the friendship was great. Like the friendship still worked. We understood each other intellectually. We talked about big concepts. So I couldn't understand what the subtle unease was, and I kept trying to figure it out. Eventually, I realized that it was about relating. Like we were just oriented differently inside of connection. So he was what I call experientially oriented, which means the significance of the relationship lives inside of the experience. So that means the conversation mattered while it was happening. The exchange mattered while it was happening. The ideas that we explored together, they were meaningful in the moment. And I mean, this person operates from the here and now. Like nothing exists but the here and now. And so from that place, you relate to life in an experiential way where everything is just the meaning exists in the experience that we're having. I recognized that I relate differently, like I orient relationally. So for me, the meaning doesn't just live inside of the experience we're having, it lives inside of the relationship itself. So when I care about someone, the connection becomes something that exists beyond this moment we share, right? Like I'm thinking about you when we're not interacting. I'm aware of you when I make decisions. If I need to consider you, I make decisions, right? There is like this sense of continuity inside of the relationship where it still runs in the background of your life. Like from my perspective, we would not have had those deep conversations and those moments of connections if we hadn't had the year and a half of friendship that built up to that to begin with, right? And this matters because of where we place meaning. So if meaning lives inside of the experience, then the connection is meaningful while it happens. But if meaning lives inside of the relationship, then the connection itself, the relationship itself, is what carries the significance, even outside of those moments you have. And so it's such a fucking subtle little thing, but it was causing so much dissonance inside of my body. And like, neither of these orientations are wrong. Like a lot of people move through connection experientially, and a lot of people move through connection relationally. But when the orientations are different, it can create some kind of friction. And that was what I was experiencing. It wasn't that anything was wrong. It was that we were relating to the relationship differently through different lenses. And once I was able to saw that, I was able to recognize it and like hold it and be like, oh, okay, this is why that friction exists. It's revealing to me what I prefer in, meaningful connections. So it was showing me where my body was actually oriented. So once I understood that about myself, once I recognized that I orient relationally and that the kind of connection I'm actually looking for, like longing for, was relational in nature, something actually started to shift in my perception. So again, it's not like I went out looking for anything. It wasn't like I made a decision to pursue any kind of relationship or to start searching for someone who matched that type of orientation. It was more like my lens changed. And when your lens changes, you start noticing things that were already there in a different way. Like this happens all the time when we speak about abundance. Abundance is a state that you tune into. Like a lot of people think abundance just means money, but abundance is so many things other than money. And when you step out into the world and you look at, nature, for example, abundance is everywhere. Like in the stars, there's an abundance of stars, there's an abundance of air. Like everything that we have already exists, but you either tune into it or not, like a radio station. So as I was moving through this experience, this revelation with the one friend, I'm kind of like narrating it and sharing it with my other friend. And through that interaction, I was able to see like, holy shit, this friendship, this other friendship is actually the type of relational experience that I want to have. It's a mutual shared orientation. So for 2 years, we had this friendship where continuity and genuine care already existed. We both showed up to the friendship as our messy human selves, and there was never any sort of shame in doing that. We were just meeting each other exactly where we were. And so I could not help but start to look at this friendship through a different lens. And that's when I realized that all of the qualities that I had been describing for years when I talked about conscious relationships were already present inside of this connection. The more that I sat with it, the more that I realized that it wasn't just relational, like the self-awareness was there, the willingness to grow was there. Like we both were able to hold each other accountable, and the space to be imperfect without the other person needing you to change, like that already existed. And so everything that I had been describing intellectually when I talked about conscious relationships already lived inside of this connection. I just hadn't recognized it. And I was unable to recognize it because I had attached the relationship I was seeking to a specific form, right? For most of my life, if you asked me what a romantic relationship would look like, I would always assume it would be with a man. That was just the way that I had imagined. But when I started to see this connection differently, I recognized that the relational steadiness that I had been describing for years was already present in this friendship. Like, it just became very obvious. And I think the coolest thing was the moment I had that realization, the moment, my conscious mind caught up, my body settled. Like it was like my body breathed out, which was a very interesting experience as somebody who gets on here and speaks about embodiment and speaks about how your body tells you everything you need to know about any given situation through either restriction or through an openness or an expansion or an exhale. And so to have that experience where my body was like literally telling me this is it, it was so interesting, and also something that I couldn't ignore. Like over here on this side of it, it just really made me recognize how easily we attach ourselves to a specific form. Like when we imagine what something will look like when it arrives. We want something. We want the job, the money, the this, the that. It doesn't matter what it is. But we create this idea of what it has to look like. We unknowingly reject other forms, ones that possibly might be better suited for you than what you have imagined, right? We decide ahead of time of what it needs to look like. And by doing that, it actually blinds us to things that already exist. When you believe that all possibilities already exist, which is something that shows up in manifestation spaces a lot, and even in, conversations about quantum mechanics, The question isn't how do I create that thing that I want? The question sometimes is, am I able to recognize it when it shows up? So when I zoom out and I look at the entire experience now, I think what stands out the most to me is how interconnected it all feels. Like I needed to have the contrast experience in that friendship. Without that experience, I would not have been able to recognize, one, my own relational orientation, and two, the orientation that I wanted to experience already existed, right? I had to have that friendship first, the 2-year friendship first, because in that friendship, there was 2 years of witnessing that created depth, right? That stuff can't be manufactured on a Bumble date, right? When you witness somebody over time, you see how they move through life. You see their growth and their humanity and their evolution and their humility. Like that timing matters. Earlier versions of me might not have been able to recognize the connection. So sometimes the thing that we're waiting for, it's not that we're waiting for it to appear, but we're waiting to be able to see it. And I think what stands out the most is that nothing felt forced. It was like, it just felt like it was revealed. Like something that already existed was revealed. And then my body giving me confirmation that, yeah, this is it. So for years, I've been talking about conscious relationships, and then one day I just realized that I was already standing inside the foundation of one, and I just hadn't recognized it yet. So the question is, where in our lives might something already be unfolding, but we can't see it yet because we're attached to what we think it should look like? Sometimes the next chapter of your life doesn't arrive as something new. Sometimes it's something that has been quietly growing beside you the entire time. But the only thing that changes is your ability to recognize it.